Alrighty, so step 2, we need to configure the router based on our routes. So we configure the router in the application module file. So that's the appmodule.ts file. And now notice the new entry here in the import section. We have router module.forRoute, and then we give the routes. And so those are the routes that we defined earlier in our application. And so now the router is configured and it knows about the routes that we've set up. Then in step 3, we define the router outlet. So the router outlet acts as a placeholder. It renders the desired component based on the route. So in our previous example, we have our menu items on the left. You select the link, and then the router outlet, that's a little placeholder. That's the area of where the actual component will be rendered. And then remember, it only updates a section of your page. It doesn't reload the entire page, right? So we have a single page application. We simply perform partial updates on our given page. Okay, so to make this work, then we need to update our app component.html to use the router outlet. So in our app component.html file, in the main content section here, we say router outlet. So again, we're saying, hey, based on the router configuration, display the appropriate component here. And then here's a little snippet of the different routes. So based on a given path, show component X at this given location. So it'll actually create an instance of the product list component, and it'll display the products based on the given category ID for that given link. And as part of some refactoring, we can comment out or delete the reference to app product list. We no longer need this here directly. This information will be updated dynamically based on our actual router setup. Alrighty, so in step 4, we're going to set up router links to pass the category ID parameter. So in our HTML page, we're going to set up links to our route and pass the category ID as a param. So we have that little menu item for Love to Shop, books, coffee mugs, and so on. We're going to set up links, and then based on those links, we'll actually have the router outlet display the appropriate component based on the given category ID. And we'll pass in that category ID with the link. So here's our app component.html. So our little menu sidebar here, we make use of this anchor router link category/1. So based on the route configuration, it's going to use the product list component, and we'll pass in that given ID. So remember, in our configuration here, we have the /:ID. So the number 1, 2, and so on. That's the actual ID parameter that'll be passed in to this product list component. And then once the user clicks the link, then we can also apply a custom CSS style. This is optional, not required, but in this example, I'll say active link. So that's the name of a CSS style in my styles.css file. In this case, we simply make the given link bold, but you can customize this and give it any look and feel that you'd want. It's any CSS that you want to apply. Now, one thing that you may notice, at the moment, we're hard coding the categories, but don't worry. In upcoming videos, we'll actually make this dynamic, and we'll read the category information from the REST API that'll get the information from the database. So for right now, we'll simply start with the basics, and then we'll make it more advanced, more complex in the following videos. So don't worry, I got you covered. Alrighty, so recall with the router outlet, when the user clicks the link, the product list component will appear in the location of router outlet. And that's based on the diagram that we have here. And remember, it'll only update a section of the page. It won't reload the entire page. Now, the next step here is step 5 of enhancing the product list component to read the category ID parameter. So we need to read that information so we can use it. So I'll set up a property called current category ID of type number. And then I make an assignment here. I say this.route, that's the activated route. .snapshot, the state of the route at this given moment in time. .param map, that's a map of all the route parameters. And then I'll say, hey, read a given parameter name X. In this case, the parameter that we want to read is ID. And this is based on the configuration that we have set up for our route. So we have a :ID. So that's the parameter ID. And that's how we actually access the parameter ID that's being passed over. So the parameter value is returned as a string. So we can actually use the plus symbol to convert the string to a number. So this is a little TypeScript trick here of converting strings to number. You simply use the plus symbol at the beginning of that given string, and it'll do the conversion for you in the background.